Molly is a writer for the Collectors Weekly magazine, and given that niche, it makes sense that she would have her finger on the lack of pulse when a prominent collector is murdered. It is absolutely not her job to investigate, but she can't help but be sucked in when given the opportunity to view the victim's extensive collection of pottery and a little time to spend with her crush. Welcome to Fictional Narrative. It is Cozy Saturday, and I'm trying not to move too much because I, as always, am cold, and the jacket choice for today it makes a lot of noise. Anyway, I am back for the first video of the year, starting with Cozy Saturday, which is always great. Cozy Saturday is a series where I talk about the most recent cozy mystery that I've delved into. I give the non-spoiler review, followed by a rating, a spoiler warning, and then we go into the spoilery content. Today we're reviewing A Killer Collection by J.B. Stanley, aka Ellery Adams, and this is the first book in the Antiques and Collectibles mysteries. So in the beginning of this book, we see Molly and her mother come to this sale that's supposed to be huge for a lot of pottery collectors everywhere, and you have people lined up. We meet our victim. He's immediately unlikable, so we kind of know he's gonna be the one to die. There's a lot in this book that is about pottery. You have quotes about pottery, you have facts about pottery. There's a lot of interesting thing that goes into the buildup of creating such a cool atmosphere, talking about the collectors, what the collections mean. It's woven in and out of the story very, very well. The buildup of the mystery is also very organic. Yes, it kind of happens immediately, but as we go on with the investigation with Molly, we kind of see where the mystery itself becomes more and more interesting, and where you think there might be a simple answer to something, there isn't. You know, all of the elements that make a compelling mystery. I don't find the mystery itself, the build-up, to be contrived, which is also really nice because then you're just not thinking about it, kind of just in the mystery itself, which I love. The reveal of the person who killed our victim is actually a twist that I was not expecting, so I did like that, but we're gonna get more into that in the spoilery section. I have thoughts because I hated the ending. The main character herself, Molly, is also boring. At first, in the beginning, she's like okay, but later on she gets boring to the point of actually annoying me with how boring she is, which is an astounding talent, but not really a skill you really want to have in your main character. The side and supporting characters also are not really likable. We don't really get a lot of them. I think the character we get the most of is her mom, and her mom is just annoying. But it's also amazing that someone so animate and with so much spark and energy has a daughter who is so boring. Speaking of which, her crush, we find out actually in the beginning portion of this book, is someone that she works with, which, okay, that could be very, very cutesy, but their chemistry is just not there. Like, somehow we're just meant to believe it. It's not a slow burn, but it also just doesn't make sense. And I will go into that more in the spoilery section, because I have thoughts on that as well. What I will say, and this can be a little spoilery because we find out more of this towards like the middle of the book, but I will say that if you find yourself in a position where fat phobia makes you extremely uncomfortable, this book may not be for you, because there is fat phobic content in the book in the way that people are described, where the victim, the guy that we're not really supposed to like, he's fat, and then the way that the main character talks about herself and she's curvy and all this stuff, it's just... But I just wanted to give this warning in case you wanted to still read this book, and I didn't want to like blindside anybody. So my rating for this book was a 2 out of 5, which is really surprising for me, because as somebody who mainly knows Ellery Adams from this series, The Secret Book and Scone Society, that series is so good and so well thought out and so well executed. This one, not so much, and I'm wondering if it's because it's older, but at the same time, God, Molly is boring. I will not be continuing this series. That being said, let's go ahead and go into the spoilery section. So this is your warning. Molly is a writer for the Collectors Weekly magazine. It's about collectors. Collectors can be eccentric. The collector's angle in the book, interesting. Antiques, interesting. The way that Molly kind of has a certain amount of like, I don't really care for these people attitude when it comes to the collectors. Maybe it's just pottery, but even then I don't understand that because her mother is a collector of pottery. So while she has an in into that world, do you think she'd also have a little bit of respect? Yes, you can comment on characters being quirky and things like that, but does it make sense to be like, the attitude she has is like, why are you even writing about this? Why is this your niche? Is this just a job? Did you want to be like a different type of writer so you're more engaged because there's a mystery? We don't know. That's never explained. This is just her attitude to the pottery collectors, like they're crazy. Next, let's talk about that love interest. Okay. Molly, throughout the book, says self-deprecating comments about herself, whether it's her internal monologue or whatever. She just doesn't see herself as attractive. This guy that she has probably known for a little bit amount of time because they work within the same company, and she has a crush on him. And suddenly, in this book, he has an interest in her, whereas we don't really get an inkling of him having an interest in her before. There is a woman who is supposed to be dating one of his friends that visits him because she wanted to talk to him about something, and she's a little flirty. Molly sees this after they've had like kind of like a maybe moment. There were some sparks that flew. I didn't see them, but Molly said that there were some sparks that flew, so I guess I'll just believe her. And she starts comparing herself to this woman, and Molly's like, she's thin, I'm curvy, you know, that basic spiel. So then she goes to the male love interest and, you know, after avoiding him for some time, then she brings it up. And he's like, this is such a red flag. If he says he's not interested in sticks. And then he says, plus she's way too flirty when she's dating my friend. Listen, if you disapprove of her because she's flirty with you and maybe other guys while she's dating your friend, perfectly valid. You do not have to put down another woman to boost up the person that you suddenly noticed and think is cute. I don't know, I'm really not one to be like, oh, it's okay to be selectively misogynistic because you like one person and not the other. You have this, he has a perfectly good reason not to like the other girl. One, she's dating his friend, so he's not going to be interested. Two, she's way too flirty despite dating his friend. That's weird. That's not okay. Why I hate him. Where is the man with the big red flag? I need him because this guy's a big red flag. But Molly falls for it because that's just the narrative that we're going with. Because she accepts that ego boost. Because she is such a boring character that this is it. This is all it takes. The bar is under the ground. So our dead victim has a wife. He has cheated on his wife. So people are like, oh, well, is there really anybody who misses this guy because he's such an asshole and he cheated on his wife? So the person who's supposed to miss him probably doesn't miss him. Fair. Now the setup with the wife is that the reason Molly is able to see his collection is because she contacted a friend of Molly's mother who typically picks up those collectible items to either sell or put in a museum or whatever. He's just kind of a middleman in that sense. And so they go to see this full collection. And the reason that she wants her husband's stuff out ASAP is because her sister is moving in with her. So it's just going to be the two of them living together on the wealth that they have, that I believe is from their family, and then that's it. So it is unnecessary to me why later on we have this reveal that she's also having an affair with the gardener, who is apparently... So I was listening to the audiobook version of this, right? The gardener is a Hispanic man, and so when he finds out that the wife died because she is also a victim, basically an accent is put on for him where he says this dramatic, like, no, even though no other guy in this book has... It's not a problem that he has an accent. It just made me very wary of sitting there and being like, okay, is this character going to be treated as like a caricature? Apparently, the wife, after she passes in her will, had left money to her lover. So Molly remarks that he kind of has a happy ending. How do you have a happy ending? Like, the person he loved, was involved with, had a relationship with, and was going to live with her and her sister, and they're going to have this happily ever after. They have these plans. He saw her dead body. He saw her dead body, and he has to live with that for the rest of his life. He discovered that body. But, okay. He got some money, so I guess at least he has that. Like, there is really any comfort found in this, because there's nothing to indicate that he would need that money. There's nothing to indicate that he needed help, and so this money might help him. There's nothing to indicate that having that money would ever be better than having the person. And so I thought that was callous. And while we can argue that maybe this is an issue with the way that this character was written by the author, because I've read the entire book and because I've had to suffer through Molly, no, this is just this character's personality. Like, she is just this person. And let me continue to tell you more about the things that aggravate me about Molly. Let's move on to the mystery. The mystery element itself. We have in this book, I believe, 2 bodies, plus a third, but the third happened before the book actually started. So technically, within this book, the murders that happen in this book, we have 2 bodies. And we have 2 different murderers. Technically 3, but again, that first one happened before the book started, so we're not counting that. This mystery, as much as I said the build-up was organic and it was good, by the end it got convoluted and it just didn't need to happen. For example, when the wife died and Molly was able to basically pinpoint who killed her, it was the most obvious thing. Imagine being this character, right? You had an affair with the husband, and then you have tension with the wife, and publicly the wife, like, says some shit to you, but, like, to your ear. But, like, people were still there in attendance seeing that tension, and then the wife dies. Like, are you serious? Like, how are you this stupid? Why would you do something that is so obvious? At that point, literally just do exactly what she says, keep your mouth shut, your head down, and move on with your life. Okay. And then circling back, of course, when you see the setup that the wife has after her husband's death, her sister's moving in. Her lover is moving in. She's going to have to expose the fact that she's either had this affair, or she's going to have to gradually show that this is somebody that she fell in love with afterwards who happened to be in her employ. And it just seems that none of this was actually necessary. You could say she had a lover. you could say her sister is moving in. Both of those people could serve the same purpose, which is having someone find her body and then be part of inheriting after she passes. We never get to see the sister in the book, she's just mentioned. So, again, one of these parties would have been enough. Second, we come back to, well, what is the mystery of why the wife pulled the mistress aside and even said anything to her that made the mistress decide, okay, murder is the only thing that I can do. This speaks to the character of the wife, that she would even keep that secret to begin with, because it has to do with a murder that involves the mistress and her late husband. And that is one of a little girl. And I thought this was a good tie-in. This was a gut-wrenching thing to find out, and then to see Molly go through the motions of finding out the person who killed our original victim at the beginning of the book and why they did that. Okay, great. That would have been fine. And then Molly has this little conundrum of, do I speak on it? Do I not? Because the killer asked her, like, hey, this is the circumstance, you know everything, like, you know, please don't rat me out, because this was essentially revenge. And then Molly like, doesn't really answer her. They kind of have some, like, comforting moment, and then she leaves. She leaves the killer's home. And time passes, and the killer and her, like, they think, like, there's, like, it's fine, there's an understanding, there's a good-ish relationship, whatever. And then the ending is absolutely ruined. It's like, tell me why. Why Molly, this insufferable little... Tell me why. She then says, in her little head, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write a letter to the person who is investigating this. I'm going to write a letter to a cop that tells him this whole story, and then it won't be up to me. It'll be up to him whether or not he wants to pursue justice. Yeah, we are going to... I mean, I'm not saying that murder is right, but I kind of understand why she did it. Because if you tell me a man basically committed a hit and run, and my daughter was the victim of that, and she passed away, and my family was so depressed, and then years later, finally, we're having a new baby, dude is dead, I got my revenge, because justice was not served that day, and we do not have the proof, that now somebody who was nosy decided to find out and put me in jail while I'm pregnant, put my family through more strain. And yes, you could say, obviously, don't murder people. But why would you let time pass? Why would you give them that comfort of knowing? Because she was not going to attack Molly at all. Molly was not in danger. Why now would you do this? Thank God, literally, thank the Lord for his divine intervention, because the guy that she mailed that letter off to, apparently he just recently got married, but he likes to look at kind of spicy magazines in his office at work where he solves crimes. But his wife was visiting him for lunch, so he threw that letter with the magazine he was looking at into the trash. And so thankfully, nobody has to make this decision. I don't begrudge a little divine intervention if it's written well. This wasn't it. And I think it would have spoke to finally something positive in Molly's character if she had made this decision herself, instead of reasoning with herself that she's going to leave the decision making to someone else, which she didn't, because she told on the killer. She told on them. That was her intent. This character is insufferable and boring and indecisive and an asshole. Oh my God. I do not recommend this book. And she's so happy that this guy that she likes doesn't like sticks And therefore, because she's curvy, that's validating. Literally, there is no bar. This was not cozy. This is killing me. I'm hoping, but I know that it's a very thin line of hope because it's the beginning of the year. But I'm hoping that this book is the only cozy this year that I encounter that is this much of a fatphobic nothing burger. And I still gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. Like, if you've watched my last video where I talk about the fact that I give 1 stars very rarely, the fact that this one didn't get a 1 star, I have to look back and look at what I've given 1 stars to, because now I'm questioning myself. Anyway, thank you for watching this far, and I will see you next time. Bye! At least my intros are getting better.